Hello YouTube! Welcome in, welcome in. We are going to be checking out more of the MonsterVerse stuff. This time we are going to look into the Kong species explained. In depth. Once again, this is the Goji Center. Should be fun. Let's jump into it. We already know what's going on.
Up next in the MonsterVerse, Godzilla and Kong will once again join forces against a massive, unknown kaiju.
This was about 3 years ago, so I'm pretty sure that there's more information that has popped down. More information that has possibly popped up, but, you know, it's fine.
But will this guy get even bigger? Today on Goji Center, we will explain how this dude went from being this big to this colossal titan in a matter of only 51 years.
I see zero difference between the two of them.
While uncovering the mysteries of this guy's origins and figuring out if Kong will grow even larger in the hollow earth.
Probably.
Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and watch till the end to be properly informed before the next film drops. Coming up, the Kong species growth explained. This video will be divided into 3 parts, which will cover all 3 essential clues that explain all we need to know to finally answer this question. Between the events of 1973 and 2024, Kong almost inexplicably grew from being 104 to 337 feet in height.
Oh, wow.
That's around 3.2 times bigger in a very short period of time. Here's a size comparison for you to see how this guy changed.
Okay, that is quite the size change. Oh my god. Holy crap. Okay, yeah, no, there's maybe some explaining that need to be done here. Okay,
this animal has adult proportions even at this small size. An infant would most likely have a larger head in comparison to the rest of its body and not be as muscular as an adult. So why does this Kong look like an adult while only being a third of the size of this mature Kong? We got a whole lot to explain in this video, so pay close attention. Number 1, the adolescent. In Kong Skull Island, we were introduced to Kong for the first time in the MonsterVerse. During the film, it was explained by Hank Marlowe that Kong was a teenager. Measuring at 104 feet in height, this guy already dwarfed most creatures on this island. But there was a problem, a big problem. This guy should have actually been bigger at this age, but he wasn't. There were other forces at play that hindered this Kong from experiencing his natural growth patterns. On this island...
Well, I mean, it could have just been like... I think it could probably just be as simple as they weren't expecting to have to make him as big as they needed to, so they just made him, like, roughly this size. But let's see what he says.
There was evidence of another pair of Kongs that lived here a while ago. These guys, Kong's parents. These Kong specimens were at first glance a lot larger than the Kong we see here. These guys were considered full-grown by the author of this book, but fast forward to GVK, this Kong is also full-grown. So what the heck is happening here? Why are all these said full-grown Kongs not as big as the one from GVK? Well, we have an answer for this. And this was backed up by both authors of these graphic novels, Birth of Kong and Kingdom Kong. If you didn't know, these Titan species are affected by something similar to a phenomenon known as indeterminate growth, which states that said creatures' growth development levels are dictated by many factors such as space, territory, food, and most importantly, stress.
So pretty much the same as like an alligator or most reptiles, right? Like if they have the space to grow, if they have a large enough territory, and if they have the food to support it, then, you know, they can probably just keep growing and growing and growing. I think that's the same thing with most sharks, right? There's lots of animals that do that. Okay, makes sense. But, like, he was kind of like a mature gorilla back then. Like, why would he suddenly just grow exponentially like this?
This is the big problem we were talking about earlier. But what is causing this stress? Well, let's begin with this Kong. We mentioned that this guy should be bigger, but he wasn't. It just so happened that there was a certain someone stressing this guy out. And perhaps the only reason why this Kong could not grow to a larger size, Ramarak. Also known as the Big One, this skullcrawler of gargantuan proportions lived in the subterranean caverns of Skull Island, laying dormant, but still considered a stressor nonetheless. Upon killing it in Kong's Skull Island, this guy managed to finally unlock the next growth spurt. And since there were no more predators to challenge it or to stress it out, this Kong was able to reach its true adult size without any hindrances. But hold on a second. This doesn't explain why Kong's parents never reached full size. Well,
Well, they probably were just like perma stressed if that's the case. Also, Kong's more of an alpha than most of the others of his species, right?
Well, back to the comic, we see that these guys were a lot larger than 1973 Kong, measuring anywhere between 180 to 200 feet in height. How did they get larger than this Kong, but not as large as GVK Kong? Again, with the topic of indeterminate growth, even though these guys faced many large skull crawlers, these two Kongs weren't alone. They actually lived with many others of their own kind who were around the same size. Because there were more of them, their stress levels would have been a lot lower than Kong's because they lived in a group.
But they wouldn't have as much individual food, they wouldn't have as much individual territory, and they wouldn't have as much individual space. So they wouldn't have to grow as large as Big Boy does.
Had safety in numbers, which would then possibly allow them to grow a little bit larger, but not enough to reach full size. Unfortunately for this group of Kongs, they never managed to grow large enough to effectively fend off a horde of skull crawlers, which ended up wiping them out. Only this guy survived, present-day Kong. Now, if we look at how big he was, we can estimate he was around 40-ish feet in height, almost half the height of Kong in 1973. But would all infant Kongs be this size? Probably not, and here's why. Number 2, adult Kongs. So, proportionately, if we look at these smaller adult Kongs and compare them to their offspring, there is a certain ratio. Does that mean that the offspring of these Kongs are the same size as this? We're going to have to take an educated guess here and
Unlikely.
say no. It's possible that the larger Hollow Earth Kongs had offspring that would rival the size of the 1973 adolescent, simply because it wouldn't make any sense for a colossal Kong to give birth to something this small. If for whatever reason this adolescent Kong were to be introduced...
It's like kangaroos. They give birth to really itty bitty things.
to other adolescent Hollow Earth Kongs, this guy would have been dwarfed simply because these two individuals grew up in different situations. So, back to this guy. Note that as soon as this skullcrawler was killed, Kong had a lot of catching up to do in terms of growth. There were no predators to put a stress cap on its growth levels, and he had the island all to himself, meaning that the remainder of the resources here were all his. The remaining space to grow was...
Yeah, so, once again, nothing is really, like, capping him anymore, so he can just grow to his heart's content as long as, you know, everything is allowing him to. And he has an entire island, lush in, you know, food, resources, space, everything for him to, you know, just keep growing into.
Was also in his favor. Fast forward only 22 years later and he already doubled in size. Another 20 years and he would have reached 337 feet tall, a fully grown Kong specimen. But this raises another question. How do we know that this guy is actually fully grown?
That's the fun part.
This, we need to look at other clues that tell us that this size is indeed the maximum size of Kongs. There are two main indicators. Number one, archaeological findings discovered by Monarch expeditions have uncovered cave paintings which depict confrontations between Gojiras and Kongs. By looking at these proportions, they already closely resemble the size comparison between two fully grown titans. So yes, the Kongs fighting the Gojiras in the Great Titan War were these guys, not the...
Okay, I mean, at first it felt like a stretch, but you know what? No, this makes sense. This makes sense. I mean, sometimes it is just, you know, the movies and writers just had a little bit of an oopsie. Oopsie poopsie, we messed up the size charts. It's fine. But that usually kind of gives way to nerds doing what nerds do. And nerding out and trying to find reasons for this when there really doesn't need to be too much of a reason.
Miniature ones that got wiped out by the skull crawlers, these big fellas. The next clue is a lot more interesting. Number two, the battle axes. How is this an indicator of their maximum size? Let's go back to GVK to this clip when Kong holds up the axe for the first time. While putting these weapons together, these guys would create tools that would have been proportional for other animals their size. This axe just so happened to be just the right size for this Kong. Anything bigger, such as a larger handle for instance, would have led us to believe that the axes were made for even larger Kongs. So was Kong the biggest one that ever lived? Probably not.
Nope.
Just like us humans, there are many of us who are very tall, some that are more bulky, and perhaps some that are somewhat short. Similarly, we'd like...
Please stop looking at me. You're scaring me.
to think that there was a similar variety within ranks of the Hollow Earth Kongs, since it's completely unrealistic to think that they were all the exact same size. A good example of this is found in Godzilla Dominion, where it is implied that there was another member of the Kong species, a Hollow Earth giant who kicked Godzilla out of his own lair.
Oh yeah. Well, shoot, what was his name?
Had to have been massive. It's unclear whether it was bigger than Kong, but surely around the same size. Now, will our present-day Kong remain this size now that he lives in the Hollow Earth, or will he get bigger? Number 3, Hollow Earth Kongs. Now that we settled that this guy is full grown, now the only thing left to discuss is if this guy will truly remain this size or gain any other special abilities.
I don't think he's going to gain any special abilities just because it doesn't make sense. I mean, the closest thing I could think of him getting any more abilities would be like the ability to talk. I think that would be the only thing that Kong would probably get. Aside from that, like, he could get bigger, he could get bulkier, he could get stronger. Like, that's his main thing, right? Kongs are built to be physically strong and intelligent. Like, they're extremely intelligent. He can sign language, that's talking true, but I mean, like, actually projecting vocal range is what I'm mostly talking about.
Keep in mind that in GVK, we witnessed the very first time Kong set foot in the Hollow Earth beyond the Vile Vortex. According to the Monsterverse lore, this is the birthplace of all the Titans, housing a class of energy that is not found on the surface
except for Ghidorah. He came from space.
Of the Earth. That includes Skull Island. Prior to...
You know, I've just noticed, but Skull Island kind of looks like a gorilla skull, doesn't it? Right? It's just half of one. Like, here's the mouth, here's the eye, here's kind of like the nasal bone, here's like the elongated forehead, here's the chin. I'm probably like, I'm today's year old when I noticed that Skull Island was in the shape of a skull.
GVK, Kong had only received nourishment from Skull Island and other surface-dwelling sources. Now it's all different. He now has access to an infinite amount of energy sources that could potentially help him health-wise. In the last installment, this guy was portrayed as a much mature and older Titan. But we'd like to think that once entering his new home in a new environment, Kong will once again feel rejuvenated, once again jump-starting his body to its full potential. In terms of growth, however, it is actually possible that we have already seen the biggest Kong. But if he still does grow, it will most likely be a bare minimum. In the next upcoming film, both Godzilla and Kong will have to be at their full potential, rested, trained, and in shape, because whatever is coming up next will have to be able to prove a worthy matchup for not one, but 2 Alpha Titans. We will cover more about this new Titan that could appear in the next film in a future episode. But for now, let us know in the comments whether you think Kong will change, get bigger, or just stay the same.
I think if he is going to change, once again, the main thing that he'll get is just physically stronger. Like, this guy will probably be able to just flip a continent eventually or some crap. But yeah, no, interesting.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, this will probably be far from the last Goji Center that we watch, but yeah. Anyway, short video, nice and fun, short, sweet, and to the point. Kong is neat. If you guys know any good, like, sources of, like, Kong history or something like that, I'd love to look into it. I thought this would potentially have more, but it was pretty much just talking about, like, hey, this is how big he was at this point. This is how big he is now. How big is he going to get? It didn't really give you too much. Anyway, if you got more, let me know. Anyway, bye. What? Hey, did you enjoy that? Was it funny? Well, come and check it out live over at twitch.tv/freeform_art. Make sure you put the _art. We have lots of fun there. We enjoy ourselves, and we want to see you over there. So come on and hang out. See you in a bit.